President Obama delivered his third State of the Union tonight. The focus appeared to be very campaign-oriented, with many references to the middle class and making the rich pay their fair share. But there are some numbers President Obama certainly did not want to talk about. Tonight, Ben checks out the state of our union by the numbers in tonight's Reality Check.
Tonight, President Obama talked about the state of the country. He touched on unemployment, and he talked about how he wants to change things in Washington by making the rich pay their fair share. The president seemed to be very focused on the numbers when it comes to Warren Buffett's secretary and the gap between the rich and the poor. But there are some numbers he didn't touch. Tonight, we take a look at the state of our union by the numbers. Let's start with the unemployment rate. When President Obama was elected, the unemployment rate was at 6.8%. Today, it's 8.5%. At least that's the official number. In reality, the Financial Times writes, if the same number of people were seeking work today as in 2007, the jobless rate would be 11%. That's because since the president took office, the feds have changed the way they calculate unemployment. Now, if you don't collect unemployment at all, or if you quit looking for work, you're not counted as unemployed. But the unemployment rate is bad, and so are everyday expenses for Americans, like the cost of gasoline. Regular gasoline per gallon cost $1.68 in January of 2009, when President Obama took his oath of office. Today, it's $3.39. That's a 102% increase in just 3 years. The cost of electricity is also way up, and that affects all Americans. Households now pay a record $1,420 annually on average for electricity. That's up some $300 a year since 2009. And what about that controversial statement that President Obama is the food stamp president? Where did those numbers come from? Well, since December of 2008, a month before the president took office, food stamp usage since then has increased 46%. In 2011, more than 46 million people, about 1 in 7 Americans, got food stamps. That's 14 million more people than when President Obama took office. The bottom line here, Americans are finding less work, and the cost of living for things like gasoline and electricity have gone up and continue to go up. Is that all the president's fault? Well, no. The president doesn't create jobs. The feds don't create jobs. Business owners create jobs. The only problem, the president has continually promised that government spending and stimulus would create jobs and opportunity. He and his economic team, led by Christina Romer, promised that stimulus spending would keep unemployment from getting any higher than 8%. It did not. Unemployment last year peaked at 10%, even under the new math. So here's what you need to know. While you cannot blame the president for all the country's economic woes, he should take responsibility for the areas where his policies have not worked. Pushing for stimulus packages that have failed to positively impact the economy. He's responsible for that. Allowing a Federal Reserve chairman to continually print money, therefore devaluing our currency, he's responsible for that. In fact, that is why the cost of everything is up, because your dollar is worth less today than it was in 2009. Again, President Obama isn't the only one responsible. But as President Truman so famously said, the buck stops there. Unfortunately for the American people, every buck in your pocket, it's worth 25 cents less than it was just 10 years ago. And that is Reality Check.
If you'd like to make your voice heard on the story, you can head over to Ben's Facebook page. You can find it by simply searching Ben Swan, WXIX.